Kerri Lewis and Yankov coming at you live for our fourth episode of For No Particular Reason, because we just like to show up and sit in each other's company, knowing that we're going to have great, unexpected conversation that could potentially be of service to any and all of you who are watching. So I am super excited to be here with you, Yanko, for another episode. How you doing?
Wonderful. Very happy to be here and resonate with you. And hopefully, we'll bring up some good conversations that'll be able to be of some kind of service to people and help them expand, get closer to love, and maybe find themselves.
Expand and get closer to love. I love that. So I'm curious, what, if you can at all, I know I can't, so it might be a loaded question, but what does love mean to you?
Oh, yeah, that's a wonderful question. Um, it's not well, it could be a feeling, but usually it's a vibration that is happening. It's kind of hard to explain. Um,
Totally, I would say
it
it's almost impossible. It's kind of like explaining what we come from. It's a knowing, not an actual thing that you can
right,
articulate, right? And
right.
I asked that question because I was on the phone with a client earlier today, and she was talking about all this stuff that she was doing and asked me what I was doing. And I was like, I'm being. And she's like, well, what do you mean you're being? I'm like, I'm not, I don't plan. I'm not planning. I'm doing and being. And she was completely perplexed. And I said to her, I was like, it's an experience that once you know, but until you know, it's foreign. And I feel like
Right.
love is the same thing. We spit love around very easily, but from my understanding and from my experiences with people, 99% of the human population fear love.
Yeah. Because it's it it takes a while, at least for me, to sit and meditate and figure out like what that really is. And some people they perceive the word differently, and everyone has meaning to something. Some people think it's something you possess, and that's like possessive love, like I must have you, and or I must have this to be happy, or whatever, or thinking that it's something outside of them that they're missing, and it actually is something outside of they're missing. They're missing the outer half, their soul, which is on the outer side, and that's why a lot of the people I think are chasing after things that think it'll make them complete, but the completion is within you. When you find your other half that you're missing inside you, your soul, when you make that connection, then you're complete. Then you're um, can find the word for it. But it is um, you become you realize that you don't depend for your happiness or nothing really depends on outside circumstances to make you who you are because you find that peace that you're missing. Does that make sense the way I'm explaining it?
Well, I mean, I get it, but I think for the community, if anybody's out there watching, first off, feel free to jump in and ask questions or leave comments, because Yanko and I
Okay.
absolutely want this to be an interactive show where people feel confident that you can just ask
Mhm.
any questions. But I think for the general population, that can feel really, really difficult to grasp. And so, I think for me personally, much like you, I I know myself so well, right? That the minute I feel angst, I know that I'm in fear, which means I'm outside of love. Meaning, like, if
Right.
I am feeling the slightest bit uncomfortable and I'm not sitting in joy and peace, then
Yeah.
I'm in fear, right? Or another way to think
Mm.
about it is you're in your ego, your overthinking mind. And then when
Right.
I sit in love, like just this, it's just this unbelievably, incredibly um calm and peaceful experience.
Right.
And I just know without I don't feel the need to ever articulate it or be able to verbalize it. It's just a knowing. It's just you know. And
Right.
when I'm there, everything flows. And this is what I was trying to tell my client today earlier is you don't have to do because you just kind of flow right into the next thing, into the next
Right.
thing, and it just works like that.
We have to be. If you're present and you be in the moment, then that's all that matters. Because that's pretty much it. It's like you exist. There's no, there's now. There's nothing else. There's no future or past. You're in the now. You exist. In whatever you send out, you receive.
So I want
Um,
to talk to you about something that I've been studying. And there's a lot of spiritual text that kind of has doubled down
right.
my understanding of this. I think that
Okay.
there's been a lot of spiritual teachers and a lot of healers who have achieved what you've achieved, like Kundalini enlightenment, right? But because they didn't stay in the work, they fell back into ego. So look at, right? Let's talk about the Quran, for
Right.
example. And no diss, right? To anybody who studies that. Muhammad was had a beautiful soul and he had this experience on the mountain where he an angel came down and talked to him, blah, 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 but he also was a perpetrator of the holy wars. And from everything that I understand of energy, even if you're not spiritual, but also spirituality, um, spirituality in a nutshell is love. And so you can't have war and love. And I cannot
Right.
fathom. And so I've looked at several people who have achieved, a certain height in spirituality. But then it's almost like they come down off their throne, so to speak. And it's because they don't continuously show up to do the work to stay in alignment. What what experience have you had with that, if any, of like, you know, not I don't know. Like I don't know what the question is, but it's more like an epiphany that, it will always be work to stay until until you become one, right? And there are a lot of examples of people finally achieving that oneness where the ego completely dies forever, but you haven't gotten there yet, correct?
Right. No, I'm not there yet. But it's a state of consciousness. So you have your consciousness and you embody that consciousness. And if you take that consciousness out of your body, then you have a out of body experience. But then that consciousness can also expand and include other things around, so not only your body, but like whatever it's in the immediate vicinity of you. Um, so it's a disruptive experience of how you your consciousness it's operating in any given time or a moment. There could be times when your consciousness is expanded to a point where you don't even understand what getting a body is, or you're just totally like not operating like a human being. It could be like really disruptive, and that's why mystics, like I study mysticism and mystics myself. So some of them need people to take care of them because they're capable of taking care of them because everything from that perspective of consciousness, it's fine the way it is. Like there's no need to consume food or sleep or do anything that usually people do when they're embodying in that moment. So it's not a permanent state, but it's a state of like that constantly changes, almost like how your emotions are changing from day to day. You can feel sad or happy or whatever you're experiencing. So it's more of a state of how or how consciousness experience itself in this body, mind, spirit. If that makes sense, the way I'm explaining it,
Sadness or happiness or that's an illusion though too, would you not say? And then there's
it is.
actually
Yeah,
a comment
yeah,
that I
yeah. It
definitely
is.
read. This ignorant American right here. It's very cool writing though.
Oh, that's a friend of mine just saying, hey, how are you doing?
That's cool.
Hey, Emo, that's his name. So
Emil,
that's from my feed. Yeah, Emo.
hi. Anyway,
Good.
yeah, so it's interesting because the more in tune with myself I'm getting, the more I realize that even the emotions are ego and it's a separation from one. And when you come back to one, those emotions don't exist.
No, the emotions are part of the body, mind, spirit complex. So emotions are emotion, it's energy in motion. So whatever energy, it's in motion in the body because I'll go back to what I do with hypnosis is that you have a thought, your thought creates that emotion because it creates your reality. So you have a thought that might bring up a memory that will create out of that energy and emotion, and you'll have that experience.
Okay,
So
that's true. But the work, from my understanding, is to catch yourself with that thought instantaneously and then recognize that most likely it's not a true thought anyway, because if it's not a loving thought,
mhm,
then it's not real, right? Because if we exist in love and you're in fear, that's not real.
right. So usually, to me, I'll share my experience with you. To me, the emotions don't go away; they're there, and it's like there's the emotion and it's going, but it's almost like it's happening to the body. It's not happening to me. Almost like I am detached from it, and I can choose to experience the emotion or not choose to experience the emotion. It's like a thought. It comes up, and I'm like, oh, there's an emotion, and I can choose to say, all right, let's see, where's this emotion going? Where's this emotion coming from? Like a thought, or I can just say, huh, it's an emotion, and I'll let it unfold, and then it goes away like a thought. Like if the thought comes in, I don't act on it. It's a thought that just comes in and it goes away. Does that make sense?
It does, and it's just it's I'm in a weird place right now, Yanko.
I know we all are.
I will tell you, my energy is popping off though, because my third eye is vibrating like a mofo. And I try to explain that to somebody. I'm like, no, like I feel my forehead vibrating. Like it's really you.
Right?
If you haven't felt it, you're like, this chick is crazy. Which guys, I totally get if you're saying that because I would have been like, okay, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. So I had that experience too, and often I do. But depends on like where I want to take the consciousness. If I wanna, where attention goes, that's where consciousness flows. So if my attention, I wanna focus my attention on something else rather than feeling whatever is vibrating in the body in this moment, then I can ignore everything else and just focus my attention on whatever else I want to focus the attention on. But if I say, well, let's see where this goes, then I can focus my attention on that part of the body and then have that experience or see where's this coming from or what is that about.
Hmm.
So it's almost like it's like having the experience. I know before it kind of sounded weird to me when I hear people say, if you don't like your experience, just have a different experience. And I'd be like, well, what do you mean just have a different experience? Choose what you want to experience is that's that's why you're here, I think, to have a human experience, to experience emotions, to experience thoughts, to experience delusion, duality, and everything else that goes on with everything else that's going on. If that makes
You know,
sense to
it's
you.
interesting. I think for me, I feel differently now. I think we're here to learn forgiveness and unconditional love. Like, that's it. Like, that oh, and if even if I'm wrong, that's what I'm sticking my stake into and calling like, digging in, and being able to really truly show up in unconditional whole love
Right.
and
Yeah.
forgiveness.
But to get to that point, usually you go through all kinds of other
Hell,
experiences
hell.
to get you to that experience. So, and that's why I'm saying like we're here to have an experience which basically leads you back home because you're like going through this and that because you have the duality. And then as everything falls away, fades away, you're coming more and more closer to love and you're coming closer and closer to home until you realize that there's nothing else but love. That's just it. Like
So,
everything else,
okay,
it's delusion.
so I'm gonna, like, and I know you study mysticism, so I don't know if you can speak on this or not, but I'm curious what your thoughts are since it's Good Friday and the day that Jesus
Sure.
was crucified. Um, what are your thoughts about the purpose of his crucifixion?
The
Because I
purpose of
believe that he died for our sins,
what's the purpose of him
being crucified.
being crucified? That I really don't know. That I really don't know. Um, I I really don't know.
I believe that
There's
wasn't the
there's things. Yeah, there's things that below before that I had experiences or I had beliefs that it'll make me think one way or another, but I haven't really found her on that particular one. For example, to no, because like off and on, I have conversations with people that'll say, "Well, he was a real person," and then other people will say, "Well, no, he was a mystical person. He never existed." And then there's other people that say, "Well, the text, it's an allegory. It's not really to tell you, it's not secular history or anything." But then there's people that go back and say, "Well, there's all the signs from other history and historians and people that found that he was a real person and everything else." And I I sat on that and I said, well, even if it existed or it didn't exist, or if he did that or it didn't do that, how is that gonna bring me closer to finding who I am, or like closer to love or anything else? You know what I mean? If that makes any sense to you, the
Well,
way I'm
so for
explaining
me,
it.
I think the point point of his crucifixion was not to repent for our sins. I believe it was to show us that we can resurrect, that death is technically like, because if you look at the
Yeah, yeah,
context in Christianity and stuff, there is so much narrative
right,
around, first off, the mind is everything, what you think you believe, very much like Buddhism, right? Buddhism has the same philosophy and similar
yeah,
to Hinduism. But also there's there's so many texts that say, one, be childlike, curious, right? the the final judgment is the fact that we're not meant to judge anything in the first place. That is the ego. The perception is the ego. So when you get to a place where you're not judging anything, that's the final judgment. And that so essentially, I believe that he existed to teach us all that we have the capacity to have the same power that he had in human form. And that
right.
it wasn't the crucifixion we were meant to focus on, it was the resurrection. But but I was just curious what your thoughts were, because we talk about stuff in no
I
particular.
mean, my thoughts are totally stripping off from the beliefs that I have because every day I catch myself having false beliefs that color my reality. And as I go, no, 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 I'm coming back to like, let's go back to what really is instead of saying, oh, I know what this is.
Yeah.
Because I already made up my mind based on whatever beliefs I had. So that's why I'm saying that, yes, there is a lot of truth in what you're saying and everything, but do I really know? I really don't because now I just go from experience. So a lot of the times when I talk about things, you probably hear me say, this is what I feel or this is how I understand it. My personal way of interrupting or interpreting, sorry, um, reality or life as it goes. Because I'm starting to think that everything that I thought was how is, it
Is
was
it?
just, yes,
That's the thing. So if you think about it, there's 8 billion
yes,
people with 8 billion minds, and the mind is capable of creating its reality. So you're spot on. There really is no right or wrong, good or bad, whatever. That I totally agree with.
right.
But I just find it, when I think about the fact that we exist in limitless power, right? I can't imagine somebody who walked this earth who could walk on water or part the seas would, you know, not stop being crucified if there wasn't a reason. But I don't know. I believe that our sin is separation from love. I don't believe that we as humans are sinful.
Well, first of all, if you think of it, people were having different kind of understanding of, and they were living in different times back then.
Yeah, their vibration. So,
Yeah. So, yeah, yeah. So what applied for them, it doesn't really apply to us though, because like I think that applies for that time, and that was needed at that time, and that's why that was given to the people at that time. The same way we're having technology and other things going on right now, which are needed as a tool to help the consciousness of the people now expand and get outside the box
yeah.
for this time space. Now, I my day started today with a message from a friend. I'll share that with you real quick. Send me this video of somebody showing a sunset and then saying, "Oh, this is crazy," and turns the camera around and showing like a sunset on the other side. So there's like a dual sunset. It goes like, "Oh, there's two suns or whatever," and I laughed. And she was like, "Well, what are you laughing about?" And it's like, "Well, maybe the end of days is coming and this and that or whatever." And then I said, like everyone creates their reality. So if you think there's two suns, then there'll be two suns, or three suns, there'll be three suns, because you create your reality, and now that everything changes, that becomes true for everyone in that particular moment. Same as UFOs and everything else that's going on. So if this is what you want to create with the mind that you have and everything, that's what you'll get. If you want to have that experience, you'll have that experience.
Well, like I said,
So
my experience
she
is going to
she,
be
she was like she
uninvolved.
was like yeah, she was like, thank you for reminding me,
Yeah,
you know
that's interesting. I mean, it would be kind of be cool to see two sunsets, though.
yes. I mean, it'll be an interesting experience, just as anything else, and that's why I'm more curious nowadays and judgmental than either judge myself or judge the situation or judge my emotions or judge whatever else that's going on, because like you're taking your attention away from what is. So the minute you jump to do something, you're not longer in the moment. You're analyzing doing something else.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know. My focus these days is on peace and joy. If I can sit in peace and joy, I'm good.
Yeah,
And that's really where I want to be. And honestly, I want to teach other people that they can do that too, because there's so many people who live in perpetual suffering, you know?
yeah, yeah.
And honestly,
That is,
all it is a habit. It's no different than anything else. It's just a habit and a set of beliefs that have been embedded in their psyche from society and from their family.
yeah, yeah. I had another conversation this morning too when um, the person I talked to was saying, "Oh, like some people, they read everything, but they don't live it though. They just like memorize it, and they say, oh, this is the how it's supposed to be and everything, but they never try to embody whatever wisdom they get off or whatever." And then I said to her, it's interesting because like you're getting bombarded from the day you're born with like songs, other things, other people telling you like money it's important, obtaining things that it's important, and you kind of getting brainwashed into thinking all those things. It's part of the experience of duality, if
What,
if that
being
makes sense.
brainwashed? Is that what you just said? Being brainwashed is part of the experience in duality?
Well, like media and everything else, programs are constantly. You're listening to a song and it goes embedded in you. And it takes more money, 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 or whatever. Or they're they either sing about money, or they either sing about sexuality, or about obtaining things like big houses, big whatever, instead of like taking your attention away from what's important, I think, in life.
So, but I guess for clarity's sake, do you think that that is the purpose of our duality? Like,
Um, I think it's something to do with how this. Um, let me see if I can find a word that'll resonate with it. This time-space reality is the way it is because of prolonged years of exposure to negativity, if that makes any sense.
gotcha. But that's not why duality exists in the first place, though,
No,
correct?
no,
Okay, I
no,
was like, all right, as
no,
long as we're clear on
no,
that. because I
No,
I
no, it
I
just
don't
yeah,
believe
no,
that.
it just makes it yeah, it just makes it a little bit tougher as you coming back for say say you come as a soul, or just pretend that you come as a soul in a human body to have that experience. And when you do, from day one, you're getting programmed with all those beliefs and everything that doesn't really help you progress through life.
Hmm.
It takes you away from something that you could have differently as an experience.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
But, I think this goes to both of our work though with people is helping people start to, and something you said that I absolutely love because I live by this and I work with my clients on this all the time. It's coming from a place of curiosity. Like when you can start to suspend what you think you know and come from a place of curiosity, I mean, the universe is the limit and what you could experience in this human experience, right?
exactly.
But when
Hmm.
you're so conformed to a specific way of thinking that you can't see anything else, then you really limit yourself and your ability. And like
Yep.
even my questions about Jesus, do I know unequivocally? No, I don't. I just from the fact that I truly have a visceral knowing that we're loved. I can't imagine that like I don't understand the concept of sin other than separating yourself from love. But outside of that, I'm open to like anything cuz who knows?
Well, Neville Goddard says that sin is missing the mark, meaning that you missed the mark,
Yeah,
or
it's an
you took,
error.
yeah.
But I
So,
the error is separating from love.
right.
Because again, I mean, I'm telling you, I'll give you I shouldn't have been, but I was blown away. I go with Nana to this body um posing class, right? Because he's looking into doing bodybuilding competitions or whatever.
Okay.
These people, some of the most cut people, right? They have worked to build this defined, lean, chiseled body. But the most fearful people, like I couldn't stay in the room. The amount of fear and anxiety that existed in these people who had dedicated so much time into creating this physical physique was palpable. And so I'm like, holy crap, like that, like they exist in fear instead of love. And to me, that's just crazy.
Right.
But
Yeah,
it
it
does
is.
it takes a lot of work to get to a place where you love yourself like I love myself now.
Yeah, there was time when I had to remind myself that because like there's times when you're like taking it so seriously, like you take the whole thing very seriously, and then that that puts you on the other extreme, thinking that something has to happen a certain way, or you have to influence it in a certain way, or do something else. But you know, from experience, in comparison to what I'm reading through other people that have experiences, is that like it's different experience of your consciousness. So if you're having a nightmare or night scare, when you wake up, you're like, oh, this was really weird. Like I felt it like it was real, but I'm kind of at ease now that it's gone because I woke up and it was a dream. And I feel like it'll be the same when you're finishing with this life. You're like, oh, this was so stressful. I had to do all those other things, but that was just another life that I had, and I'll come back and do this again. if that makes any sense. So
Yeah, I don't plan on
sometimes
looking
it's
back.
yeah. So sometimes I have to kind of like if I start getting into character a lot, I have to kind of step back and say, all right, this is just a happening. It's just like anything else. My consciousness can have different kind of experiences. I can be in a different dimension right now, or whatever it looks like right now, like time space doesn't really exist. So you're going through different things and you have different experiences. Um, but yeah, I don't know where I went with that. Anyways, any thoughts?
Um, no, I think I honestly, for anybody who's listening, at the end of the day, whether it sounds really abstract what Yanko and I are talking about, both he and I have worked incredibly hard to discipline our mind. And ultimately, what I would say my my work is to teach people that they can experience life differently. And,
Yes,
you know, if you're suffering, I know that both Yanko and I feel very strongly that you are worthy of living a life in joy and free from suffering. And to your point, I'm not going to look back when I die and be like, wow, that was a stressful experience. I'm going to look back and be like, damn, I figured that shit out. I'm not. That's not going to be my reality at all. Cuz I have a crap ton of fun in my life now. But it took me many, many years of suffering to get here too.
right, and that's why we have the duality, because you can know what you want and what you're vibrating with if you don't know what you don't want.
Yeah,
So you
that is
have to have something to compare against to. So anytime something comes in, it doesn't mean it's bad. You can label it any way you want to, but it's just another indicator telling you that this isn't something for you. Like you
yeah.
don't want to have that experience.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wicked I do it. So, do you do anything? Do you celebrate this holy weekend or is it not holy to you? What do you do?
Well, it's actually different to me because we're well, at least our family is Orthodox Christian. So that's our Easter. It's in a month later this year. It's not in a line with everybody else's Easter. So we're not really celebrating Easter, but we still took our son to Easter egg hunt today to give him that experience as, you know, having the holiday and knowing what it is like to go hunt for eggs or, chase other kids around. It was so beautiful. Um, we they line everybody up around, and there was a DJ with music, and when he said go, and everybody ran like crazy with their baskets and getting all the eggs. It was so joyful though. It brought tear in my eye. It was just like the energy of like
Yeah.
everyone getting excited. It was so good. So
So I'm
I'm
curious,
glad.
what will
Go
you
ahead.
share with your son the importance of thought and like the mind? Like, yeah, I mean, for me, I teach my kids how to manifest for sure, and I teach them the power of thought. So I'm just curious if that's something. I know he's young, but is that something that you intend to teach him? Because I think that the focus in our school system is so unsupportive
Teaching,
of what we need to focus on.
I do teaching when I'm asked of teaching. If he asks and he comes in and says, or if he asks for help and says, Daddy, help me with this, then I jump in. I tend to not um, jump in on things, helping him with things, because I want him to figure things out on his own. Um, I don't want to rob him of the experience of learning lessons, life lessons, and other things because I'm not always going to be next to him to be able to help him. So I think my job as a parent is to make him self-sufficient as much as possible, as fast as possible, to have critical thinking and be able to be in peace with himself.
I love
And
that answer so much.
so I, I'm not, I'm parenting to me when people say parenting, it's like you're programming him. Again, he might don't want to have the same experience or the same goals because his consciousness is on a different level at this point. Um, so me trying to influence it, it's like taking something that could be joyful for him or hurtful for him that'll help him figure out who he is in the long run.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny as a former leader in corporate America and somebody who's experienced a lot of kids whose parents did not set them up to have critical thinking skills and common sense. I do believe, much like you, it's so imperative that we allow our kids to figure it out and fall because it teaches them not only does it teach them critical thinking, but it teaches them resilience. And then when we
Yes,
look around the world today, and the highest rate of suicide are people 19 to 29. We have pervasive addiction and mental health issues, and it really is in part because, for a good amount of time, we've sheltered our kids thinking that we were keeping them safe when really we set them up unintentionally. There's no blame.
right.
We set them up to not know how to
How to
navigate
cope with life. Yep,
change.
yep,
And it's interesting because I watch my daughters, and my daughters are highly emotionally intelligent beings. I've taught them how to have tough conversations. I've taught them to, advocate for their needs. And even their teachers can't handle my kids because
yep,
it's so foreign to the teachers to have somebody so empowered, particularly in their teens.
yep. Yeah, it could be scary. It could be different for other people, and it yeah. It, like I think comparing myself to him, I had a lot more freedom to explore the world around me as a kid. Being able to go poke like frogs at the pond, or do stupid stuff, or climb trees and figure things out and play with my friends and build like tree houses, not like they do now on the TV, but like actually getting sticks and ropes and other things like it. And that, I think, to a point helped me to figure out how to put things together, how to think outside the box, how to improvise in the moment, how to be more in the moment, and feel that you know whatever happens, like I can cope with whatever happens because
Yeah.
I think I have the know-how.
I mean, I dove headfirst into sex and drug addiction at 14, so I don't know. I mean, that definitely prepared me to be resilient. I think about it, I'm like, I love my human experience. I really do. People are like, "What do you mean you went through all that stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah, but holy crap, do I have a re I have an unshakable and resounding faith in myself. Unshakable. Like, it's and it kinda this conversation's kinda come in full circle because we talked about love, and I asked you what love was, and you shared where people look for external circumstances to satisfy their needs, whereas my experience as a younger person, equipped me with the ability to trust and love myself no matter what. So much so that literally my cousin sent me a text with this job description for a coach. And he's like, "Oh, it's $100,000. You'd be great at it." And my answer was a resounding. And I literally said this. I was like, "I would rather be destitute, homeless on the street, and give up my children to their father before I ever work for somebody else again, because that's how much faith and love I have in myself and confidence that I have in my ability to handle what I need to handle." And that to me is love for self
Yes,
anyway.
yes.
And that's
Well,
what I want to instill in my kids.
um, yeah, yeah, you said it perfectly. Like I don't think I can add anything to to make this more um, digestible. I'll say this is perfect.
Yeah. Well, on that note, Yanko, where can people find you if they want to connect?
Well, they can find me at www hypnoyan. That's hypnoyan.com. That's my website. I tried to get the banner running underneath us, but for some reason we're not having a good time today. Or
Sure, we
it's a good
are.
time, but uh, there you go. Now
There
it's
you
coming up.
go.
There you go. So it took a while for the banner to come up,
Better
but
you than me.
yeah, just to remind people, we're doing this regularly every Friday, 1 p.m. Central to Eastern, in 11 p.m. Pacific time. We're here for you. Bring us your comments. Join us. Chat with us. We might even be able to bring you in the show if you like to. And here is, um, I'm going to try to get this going now. Your
Well, guys,
contact information.
yeah, you can find me at kerrylewis.coach. And that's straight across all social media as well. I don't know on YouTube, it's Kerry Lewis Coach something, I don't know. But you can find me on my website, kerrylewis.coach, and you can find me, and to Yanko's point, if you have questions, even if you disagree, like I love people who challenge my thinking, because
Right. Yes.
what Yanko says, we're both very curious. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear
Yeah.
whatever it is that you think of when we share our insights or stuff, because neither one of us know. None of us have the answer. And so please feel free to join us. And then if you want support, or if you just have a question about how to start to change the way in which you experience life, please reach out to Yanko or myself or both of us, because the whole reason we do this show is because we truly have both done the work and do the work every day to experience life free from, well, for me, I can't speak for Yanko, free from suffering. And that's what I
No,
want.
I'm the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like everyone has to have little time for themselves to be able to ground process whatever they need to do to come back to beingness. So,
yeah.
100%.
And Yanko is very soft and gentle. He's actually taken me through hypnosis. I am not so much. So just I always tell people, because I am the most compassionate, kind, loving person. If you don't take action, I'm not the person to work with, because I hold people accountable to actually do the work and not just talk about the work. To the point that your friend said, and I got to tell you, I spot on agree with her. There's a lot of people, even in academia, with a lot of letters behind their name that spew information but have never integrated it and don't embody it. So it's not wisdom, it's just knowledge. And that
Yep.
is the definition of talk is cheap. I love how you have nothing to say, but it's true.
I mean, I feel like we're sometimes repeating ourselves, and, and that's why I just not in agree, because I do agree with, and that's why we resonate, and that's why we're we.
Well, guys, until next time, this is always a pleasure, Yanko. You're a gift to my spirit and soul. Thank you very much for showing up and doing the work for yourself, because at the end of the day, that's what's most important. However, you do it, whoever you work with, if you're working on yourself to learn yourself, then you are, in fact, helping heal the world. And for that, I have a deep debt of gratitude towards you. Mwah.
That's right. And until the next time.
Peace and chicken grease.
Bye.